Welcome back to another Sister Scoop, where you will find this week's Marvel news coming to you from Sisters Assembled. We're going to get right into some semi big news, I want to say, and that is it doesn't seem like Kang the Conqueror is going away the way that we thought that he was going to.
And also maybe hoped that he was going to. Look, I have nothing against the character. I think he's super interesting. We've done entire episodes just on him alone. He's a fascinating dude in all of his various variant forms. But I think, we've kind of come to the conclusion that when you look at the trajectory of things, it doesn't really make sense to shoehorn Kang into something that really it should have been Doctor Doom all along. I don't know what they were thinking. But to your point, the news this week is that it really does sound like they're going to stay with Kang, but with a twist that they are going to add a second villain. And now, caveat, this has not been confirmed by any means. This is just the current most pressing rumor. And I want to just add that one of the names, there are a few names being thrown around, but one of the names that almost every article had in common was the aforementioned Doctor Doom. So, some interesting little spice being added there.
Yeah, this is just weird to me because I think there's layers to it, as there's layers to a lot of things with Kang in general. But I think the one that really frustrates me is to the one you just said. We don't have the story at this point really that makes sense, I think, anymore for Kang. It does make sense if he's kind of going to share the screen with Doctor Doom. But on top of this, now we come back to the question of, are we recasting Kang then? Because we have to.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we have to. At this point, Jonathan Majors has officially been fired. That is the end of the story. There is a period there at that sentence. So now we have to consider, well, who's coming now to be the Kang variant? Who's going to finish out Kang's arc in the MCU when, quite frankly, it's done as far as I'm concerned?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, the only real outstanding element left is that Council of Kangs, Arena of Kangs end credit scene that is now kind of coming back to bite Marvel in the butt. It was supposed to excite us at the time, and it really did. I mean, Scarlet Centurion and those guys were on the screen. How exciting. But now it's kind of like it's the only thing that's even tying Kang to the current MCU because the iteration that we saw, Kang the Conqueror, he died. And if you want to take that at face value, he is gone in that form. So he really doesn't need to come back. It's just that end credit that's bringing it back around or even leaves the door open for future Kang storylines. And just to what you were saying about recasting, obviously we talked, I think, in I don't know if it was a sister scoop or a previous podcast episode, but Coleman Domingo has been tossed around as a name. I also was seeing John David Washington as a potential replacement for Jonathan Majors. So those two men are really kind of rising to the top in terms of that potential recast if this rumor does turn out to really come true and this is the route that we're going. My biggest fear, honestly, is that we're going to Spider-Man 3, Avengers 5, and just have way too much going on. You don't need a Kang level villain on top of a Doctor Doom level villain. It gives neither one of them the appropriate amount of time to shine of a character of their levels and of a villain of their calibers. And that is my number one concern when I read these articles. I was like, please don't do this. This is just bad and it's really not going to turn out well. It's almost impossible to execute something like this effectively. Like even for Kevin, and y'all know I just think Kevin is the greatest. I don't know that even Kevin can pull this off. It's going to be tough if this is the route they go.
Yeah, I think that's a totally valid concern. And I'm with you on it. And on the other end of that, when you were saying, yeah, we still have that one end credit scene, we do. But honestly, like, and I always go back to this, if they can run away from that Mordo end credit scene like it's the plague, I'm pretty sure we can all ignore, especially considering it was in Quantumania of all movies. Like, I'm pretty sure we could all collectively decide to ignore it and everybody would be fine. So we'll
Fair
have to see
point.
how that one plays out. It's not one of my favorite rumors slash news kind of highlights that we've ever had to talk about. I'm not loving it. I have to admit that. But next to our or on to our next topic. I'm combining all the words here because it's X-Men related. I'm like, X to our next. And maybe that'll be it. I don't know. Is X-Men 97 will connect to other shows from that era. And I know, T, you put this one on the list, so take it away.
Oh my gosh, my level of excitement. So, a little bit of background, an executive from Marvel TV who oversees a few of the different divisions has basically been doing his kind of press rounds as we get ready for X-Men 97. As you guys are listening to this, the first two episodes are already out, so hope you've gotten to check those out. But basically, he was saying, "Hey, there's an entire opportunity here to cross them over with shows that they've crossed over in the past." And now, if you've been listening to our show for any length of time, y'all know that Kate and I really entered the Marvel world through the 90s Spider-Man show. That was our preschool show every morning, getting scared out of our minds by Carnage and Venom.
Hold
Like,
on. There's no we and there's no us there. It's just Taylor was getting scared.
okay, whatever. Whatever. I was just like projecting my feelings onto you, but like it's fine. Anyway, that was so much an important moment in our childhood. And so the opportunity to connect with that show in this, iteration in this reboot is super exciting. And then, of course, the articles were going on to say, hey, maybe it's a backdoor pilot to rebooting that show, which that was the first thing I watched on Disney Plus when I saw it was on. So,
Me
I mean,
too.
I'm so excited. This might be one of my, that might have been your, that last one might have been your least favorite thing we've ever talked about. This might be one of my absolute favorite things we've ever talked about on a Sister Scoop because childhood unlocked.
No, that's definitely exciting, especially because I think in the long run, it makes so much sense. And actually, as somebody who, and guys, I did it. I watched all like 70 something episodes
I'm
before
almost
the
done.
premiere. Well, okay. And we'll talk about this. We're right from here. We're going to do our whole reactions to 1 and 2. But I went from the end right into the new season. Like there was no endpoint. Like we hit next episode. Actually, you couldn't hit next episode. They are considered two different entities on Disney Plus, which was annoying. But I will say, I think you have such a great opportunity here. And why not? You have all of this stuff coming back, wrap it all together. And the reason I say what I was saying was Captain America was in like one of the last episodes of the original X-Men show from the 90s. And I was like, this is weird. Like, what are you doing here? Kind of thing. But it just, yeah, I'm like, okay. But like that version of Spider-Man, the one from the 90s, used to cross over with everybody. So like it makes sense. The opening is right there. So I would love that. I think that would be so much fun. And it just would make sense in the long run, in total.
Totally.
But we're running out of time, and this one deserves some time in itself because Taylor and I both have some feelings about this. There is the possibility of a new Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or more Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming our way in the future.
Yeah. So a Marvel exec basically, he didn't confirm anything. He didn't say we're working on it, but he did say, hey, we're not totally ruling it out. Which, look, we liked the show very much until the last season and a half, maybe 2 seasons.
I don't know. I think by like the end of 4, it just kind of started to do
Well,
something.
there's like the slow decline that was like 5, and then like 6 and 7 were just like off a cliff.
7
right?
should have never been greenlit. I'm gonna be
7 was
honest.
7 was hard. 7 was bad.
I never finished it. I have 3 episodes left because I literally was like, I cannot watch this show anymore.
I just was like, I just need to finish. I took a cold winter day and I was like, I'm just gonna get this done. Like I just need to finish. But
Yeah.
it might come back, which is interesting. We've talked a lot on this show, especially when we were talking about Secret Invasion, about the different characters coming back in various different properties. Obviously, Daisy is one that comes up a lot. We've talked a lot about Inhumans in general, especially when it relates to Kamala Khan and her status as she kind of now bridges the gap between the Inhumans and the X-Men that we just got done talking about. She's the perfect bridge character. And so I think that's so fascinating that they're potentially even thinking about this, especially because we've talked so much about how they want to move away from Inhumans, and I personally think that's a mistake, which I have said on many an occasion. So that also excites me from that standpoint. I would love to see that property be revived, or at least that concept, because I think they're fascinating, and I don't think you can't have both the X-Men and the Inhumans. I get that it's a little confusing if you're not like all up in it and understanding the differences, but I say go for it. Swing for the fences, Marvel. Just do it.
I think I'm just torn about it because It's like, if it was in our universe, I would want it to align again like the first few seasons did. I would want
Yeah,
it to be going on with things that we're seeing because I think that's what really makes the show even more worth it. Because I'm
for
not
sure.
that like some of the weirder storylines aren't worth it. Like the later ones, like there are some really good storylines and they don't have to do with like Thor just destroyed this building in the dark world or like the Winter Soldier just happened or any of that. But I do think some of the best and the reason people want to watch the show is for those little like Easter eggs, that tie it to other things. And that's why I really liked it from the jump. So I think if it's not in our universe, I mean, maybe I guess you just do whatever you want to do with the show then. But if it's going to be in our universe, I would like to see it tie into things. I guess it's just going to be a kind of a coin toss though, because you really don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how you could ever say it's in our universe based on
I
everything
I
after season
literally
like
don't.
2. So,
I
I mean, look, we've talked a lot about the idea of whatever is our last universe that we're going to fight in Secret Wars. If that's a universe that we actually get to explore and come to love before we get to Secret Wars or after, I don't remember exactly how Secret Wars ends, to be honest. But if there's an opportunity to spend time there, maybe before Secret Wars, and we say this is the universe in which that operates, cool. I don't think at this point they can retcon it back into the MCU. It's too far gone.
No.
Entertaining, but just doesn't
After
fit.
that whole gravitonium thing, they're done. Like that was
Oh
it.
my god.
But I as much as I could talk about, especially the gravitonium stuff, we are out of time. That has been this week's Sister Scoop. Marvel news coming at you. We will be back next week for even more news coming your way.